Welcome to the Angular Circular Gauge component tutorial. The Syncfusion Angular Circular Gauge is a versatile component for visualizing numeric data on a circular scale. It usually has one or more pointers to indicate a specific value on a scale with multiple axes and rounded corners. You can fully customize it for speedometers, meter gauges, analog clocks, and more. In this video, I'll show how to create an Angular app and add the Syncfusion Angular Circular Gauge component. I'll also show you how to change the axis point of value, start and end angles, axis radius, start and end ranges, and labels. Let's start with the application creation process. I'm going to create an Angular application using the Angular CLI tool. Make sure you have installed the latest version of Node.js. I will edit my code using Visual Studio Code and check the output on Google Chrome. First, I open Visual Studio Code and install the Angular CLI using the command npm install -g at angular/CLI. Next, I will create a new Angular project. I use the command ng new project name and name my project my Angular app. As I am creating a project with an option to add a CSS style sheet, I choose the CSS option. The project creation has started, and an Angular project with its dependencies is created. Now let me navigate to the project folder. To add the Syncfusion Angular Circular Gauge, I use the command npm install at syncfusion/ej2 Angular Circular Gauge --save. The application is now ready to use. The first thing I must do here is register the trial license key to use Syncfusion components. I open the main TS file and import the register license method from the Syncfusion ej2 base package. Using this method, I register the trial license key. To learn how to generate this license key, refer to the link in the description below. The application is now configured to use Syncfusion components. Next, I navigate to the app component TS file, import the circular gauge module from the Syncfusion Angular Circular Gauge package, and register it within the imports array of the component section. To add a circular gauge, I first navigate to the app component HTML file and remove the default code snippets. I add a division element with a class container. Then I include the circular gauge component within it by adding the EJ's circular gauge tag. In the style CSS file, add a few CSS styles like margin and width to the container class to align the division element. Next, I save the changes and run the application using the command npm start. Check now, a circular gauge is rendered with default elements like pointers, labels, and ticks. You can also see the start and end angles at 200 and 160 degrees. But the circular gauge axis can sweep from 0 to 360 degrees. You can customize these angles by setting custom values to the start angle and end angle properties. To set custom angles, add the axes tag, which contains n number of axis definitions. As this gauge holds a single axis, I will define a single tag. Inside it, I set the start angle property to 270 degrees and the end angle property to 90 degrees. When you look at the circular gauge now, the axis starts at 270 degrees and ends at 90 degrees. By default, the radius is based on the available screen size. In this case, it is rendered based on the parent container's size. If I want to set a custom radius, I need to use the radius property. I set the radius property to 150 within the axis tag. Here, I have set the radius in pixels. Now see the circular gauge rendered with 150 pixel radius. The Syncfusion Angular Gauge supports three types of pointers: needle, range bar, and marker. In this example, I'm using the needle pointer. In my next customization video, we will explore pointers types in detail. By default, the circular gauge has a pointer position at 0. To change the pointer's position, use the value property. First, I add the ePointers tag, which accepts n number of ePointer tags. As the gauge holds a single point element, I define a single ePointer tag. To show the pointer value at 40 in the circular scale, I set the value property to 40. Now the pointer is positioned at 40. A needle pointer contains 3 parts: a needle, cap or knob, and tail. To customize this cap radius in the app component TS file, define an object named cap and initialize it with radius property with value 15 and bind it to the cap property inside the pointer tag. I also plan to change the needle width. So within the app component TS file, I define 2 more variables named needle start width and needle end width and set the appropriate values for them. Now I assign these variables to the needle start width and needle end width properties of the component. Checking now, the radius of the pointer cap and the needle width are customized. Next, I'll demonstrate how to set ranges. As I continue with the default needle width, I will remove the needle start width and needle end width properties. To set ranges, I need to add the ranges tag, which accepts several range tags. I plan to add a single range, so add a single range. Then I set the start property to 40 and the end to 80. Look, the range is between 40 and 80 on the circular scale. Finally, I'll show you how to change the label font and its position using the label style property. I define an object, namely label style, with a font object containing color, size, and font weight properties with appropriate values. By default, the labels are placed inside the axis. To change its position to outside, I set the position property to outside. I then assign this object to the label style property in the axis tag. Looking here, the labels are customized as specified and placed outside the axis. In this video, I have shown you how to add the circular gauge component to an Angular application. I also showed you how to change the axis pointer value, start and end angles, axis radius, start and end ranges, and labels. If you want to try out the example used in this video, download it from the GitHub link in the description below. I have also shared a link to learn about obtaining a free license key to use our Angular components through our community license if you are eligible. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please like it and subscribe to our channel.